Welcome to Game of Leadership, the podcast for curious leaders. I'm Paula Eddie Wilcox, and today is the third episode with our wonderful guest who is talking about the pivotal moments that make them the leader they are today. I really hope you enjoy the episode. I can't wait to find out what's in store. What a privilege it is to have Hayley Webb with us for her third episode on Game of Leadership, the podcast for curious leaders. Goodness me, if you've listened to the last two episodes with Hayley, and I know we're in store for more absolute gems around the leadership that she's experienced over the years, you'll have heard Hayley sharing her leadership story in the first episode, and then last week we were looking at Hayley's sort of experience of games and leadership and what that means to her in the work that she does. There's been some absolutely fascinating stuff in there, Hayley, and welcome back, first of all.
Hello.
I'll stop waffling on. So today we're going to start digging in a little bit to some of those defining moments that really make you the leader that you are today. And just thinking back to the last episode, you know, leader is sometimes a funny word because we don't always see that we're leading ourselves or other people. But, you know, when I witnessed you leading our team of brilliant women from all different walks of life, in all different jobs, all different stages of motherhood or partners and whatever else is going on in their lives, you know, and you brought us together and unified us on that day, taking care of everybody's individual needs, fears sometimes, and worries about what we were doing for the day. It was truly incredible to witness, and, you know, what can I say? So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, don't be embarrassed. Embrace it because it is amazing.
I know, I'm very good at self-appreciation.
So we'll talk about that another time. But it is incredible, and it's testament to who you are and the amazing experience that people have with you, because the fact that they just keep coming back to have more adventures with you, because I know that you get a lot of repeat business, which is amazing. How does that make you feel?
Excited, but actually a bit scared because there's no days in my diary. I need to clone me.
Oh, there is only one of you.
I know, it's a bit, I find it quite overwhelming actually, because I'm just a girl that likes going walking up hills and taking people with me. Yes.
But I think people are getting to know that there's so much more to you than just a girl that likes walking up hills.
Yeah.
Incredible. So, you know, are you ready to have a little think about those defining moments that have made you who you are today?
Come on, let's see what we can dig out.
Yeah, where do you want to start? I'm really excited.
In the locker at the back of the brain. I'm gonna just say probably one of the worst, because life's stories are not always the happy ones, are they?
Exactly.
They're really not. And definitely, I think what we go through in life, I would say the bad points are the points that help you overcome and then starts to define who you become, really. So for me, having been very young and pregnant with my daughter at 20, I had come out of the army, which I didn't want to do because I discovered I had a shin problem, which meant I can't run. Not even for last orders, I can't run, which is quite sad. And I'd actually gone to Canada to visit said person at the time, father of my daughter, and without too much information about all that, I was there 4 days when I was actually left at Edmonton Airport, without a single dollar quid to my name. I didn't have anything, nothing at all. My daughter was back here in the UK, and he left me there. And my relationship with my parents was not, it wasn't bad. It never has been bad, but it wasn't brilliant because they didn't like who I was with, and they were completely correct, as parents always. I listen to your parents. Anyone that's listening, listen to your parents. They're always right. I'm not going to let my dad listen to this. I actually had to reverse the charges when you could do the REVERSE thing on the phone, from the phone box to the UK, to try and figure out what on earth to do, because I'd been dumped at this airport and I couldn't do anything. I didn't even have like 10p, had nothing. He'd taken everything. And that flight home was quite something, which was 2 flights home back to Heathrow. 20 years old, knowing that I've got a baby to come home to, that I was really struggling with coming to terms with motherhood as well. And that's also something that women don't talk about when they've had a baby and they realize, they think, what on earth have I done? That's a really, really big thing that is tabooed to talk about. And I'm really upfront about it. I really thought of all options because I just didn't know what to do with myself. And there was this lovely lady on the plane who showed me the most kindness. And she sat next to me and she said, do you want to talk about it? Because obviously I was a bit of a mess, actually. I wasn't sitting there smiling. I was a blubbering 20-year-old, very young and naive 20-year-old mess. And I was like, no, I don't want to talk about it. And she said, it's a really long flight back. And this was from, I'd flown to Minneapolis and then Minneapolis back to Heathrow. And I just burst into tears, and that lady hugged me like I was her own daughter all the way back. She just held me in her arms. She scratched my back. She bought me stuff on the plane. She came to the loo with me to make sure I was all right. I never got her name. I never saw her once we got off the plane, so I could thank her and show her to my mum, so the ladies looked after me. And that act of kindness in probably one of the worst moments of my life, or I thought was the worst moment of my life. Turns out that there have been way worse moments, really, that mean more. But at that moment, that was the worst moment of my life. And she showed me so much kindness that, combined with the upbringing I had from my parents, kindness is on the top of my list. I wanted to be that kind of person that would make a complete stranger feel that they were loved and cared for in that moment, and not to be scared, not to be worried. And she did that for 9 hours. Bless her. She looked after me for a long time, and I was just nobody to her. And that was a big moment for my personal feeling, which those feelings didn't come until later, and you look back on things as you start to grow up and mature. But also that I would never allow myself to be in a position of being treated or hurt like that again. That's not to say that I didn't, because I didn't learn my lesson that brilliantly. I was quite rubbish at that, actually. Yeah, definitely got a Muppet magnet on me, let's say.
Oh, not true. Well, certainly not true now.
Not now. Well, he's in bed, so but yes. But yeah, it put an inner strength in me that I didn't know I had. And like you say, with leadership, it gave me my own leadership, that I need to step up now and get my life on track and make something of it, because I'd been ditched in the most appalling manner. I wasn't going to allow that to define my life and feel sorry for myself. So it's not a happy story, but without those, would I change any of it? No, I wouldn't, because it's made me who I am. And I'm hard.
Oh, Hayley, you know, it is those often those darkest moments where we learn the most about ourselves.
Yeah, definitely is.
Absolutely right. Because when I work on purpose with my clients, helping them to connect with their purpose, we do strength stories. And what you've just described, you know, we'd really dig into that and look at what strengths you identified coming out. You know, and we ask them to talk about stories that are finished, if you like, so that they're not in the middle of it and still trying to work it all out and that kind of thing. Because you have those amazing learnings from those experiences that you have throughout your life. And that's why it's fascinating to talk to you and other guests about those defining moments that make you who you are today. I mean, and that act of kindness, just that.
Find her.
Yeah, I know. Wouldn't that be lovely? But she was obviously your guardian angel for that 9 hours.
She was.
That you needed, and what an incredible person to have been so giving and give you what you needed at that time.
Yeah.
I tried hard not to cry there, but it's tough to hear that. But what an amazing gift that she gave you. You know, I love those t-shirts, and maybe it's a bit cliche, but if you can be anything in the world, be kind, you know, because it's so important.
It's the most important thing. Just be kind. We're all people.
Yeah. And you know, one thing that entrepreneurship never prepares you for is having to be out in the sort of social media limelight, if you like. And
people aren't that kind.
People aren't always that kind, are they?
They're not. I think that there are social media has an amazing thing for us, but it also has really bad dark sides.
Downside. Yeah,
definitely. The last 2 years, I think, has definitely shown that. The ultimate extremes of complete kindness to the depths of awfulness. And social media is definitely a factor in that, for sure. Kindness, it doesn't cost anything to just be a bit kind, be nice.
It doesn't. It takes nothing except a bit of effort to make sure that you do it. And you know, if that's all that my day entailed, a little bit of effort to be kind to somebody, then it's been a worthwhile day. You know, it's just the most bizarre thing. So, you know, I'm very, very grateful that you had that woman there, as I know you are. And maybe one day your paths will cross. Who knows?
You never know. You never know.
Maybe she'll listen to this and she'll know it's her, and she'll know how grateful you are.
Yeah,
that would be lovely.
Now. A long time ago. 20 years.
Yeah, only just.
God, I'm old. Getting old.
Not as old as me. Hey, look. I'm a big fan of growing old disgracefully, so we will
There's no other way.
Exactly, we will definitely enjoy it to its full, because as you get older, you're more experienced. You tolerate less the things that grate on you, don't suit you. You know what you like and want more of, and know what doesn't serve you to get rid of. And it's a nice place to be as you can lean into that more, as you know, we definitely change and are more capable of doing that as we get older, I guess is the right way to say it.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So any others that you think you can think of that would make you who you are today?
So I moved with said daughter and I lived down in Wiltshire, and she was 7, and I was unhappy in the world I was living at that time. Unhappy. I had a new partner that wasn't that new, but I wasn't happy. I just wasn't very happy, and I was driving up here to get in the mountains all the time. So I put all my stuff in storage in Barrow-in-Furness and booked into a bed and breakfast until I found somewhere to live with this 7-year-old who was a complete horror bag, I have to say. She really was a difficult child. But then I wasn't probably the best or most patient mum, because at that point I was trying to do everything very young. And I popped into this B&B that I'd got to know from staying there a few times, and ended up there for 8 months before I found somewhere to rent, because bless them, the local council said that I'd intentionally made myself homeless, despite the fact that I'd left a pretty volatile relationship to do the move. So I'd stepped from the fire into another fire, really. And that spiraled to the point I was like, I got to get out of here before something really bad happens. And I did think, what the hell have I done? So I joined the mountain rescue team. Literally the day I came to the Lake District, I joined Coniston team, who I'd be eternally grateful for. I was the young gobby one in the team. You'd be surprised to know.
I can't imagine that, Hayley.
No, I'm quite
really not new.
And of course, being like 27, I definitely knew it all.
Of course.
I wouldn't say I did, but I would like to think I've never come across having this kind of know-it-all attitude, even when I was young. But of course, at 27, you still have something about you then. And I got my flat eventually in Coniston. Realised that village life in the Lake District is not that easy, because everybody's known everybody forever and known their mums and their mums, and it's very cliqued here, and it's quite a difficult environment to move into. It's not what you see on the outside, and I wouldn't say I didn't settle, but it wasn't that easy. And it was just getting to know people and joining the team and going on rescues. My daughter was involved in that, but certainly those 8 months of having nowhere to live and sofa surfing and B&Bing and trying to make it work was another, the not unhappy side, but the side of being strong and making what you can of it. You know, I needed to make sure my daughter had the best I could give her. If that meant I went without quite often, so that she had, then that's the way it had to be. So that was a big moment then, 7 years on, and that was when I actually moved here to the Lake District, which was 2013. No, it wasn't. It was before that. It was 2007. Don't know what day I'm on. 2007. I came here, and that was definitely the beginning of where my life is now. Moving to the mountains full time. I realised that when I came off of the Fairfield Horseshoe, I didn't have to drive home because I lived here. It was great. It was like on permanent holiday.
On permanent holiday, I love it.
Yeah, except that I had to go to work and I couldn't actually do the mountains all the time because work got in the way. And at that point I was chefing still. So yeah, definitely making the move here, which was really scary. And there were a few times I nearly ran with my tail between my legs thinking, oh my God, I don't know anyone. I literally didn't know anybody. I didn't have anybody here, no family, no friends, no nothing. I just did it. If you're thinking of a life change, just do it, because if you think too much, you won't do it. You have to just do it, and it'll work out.
That is some excellent advice. You know, with my project management background, I'm kind of a planner, so maybe I'm a bit more risk averse than some, but yeah, big changes like that, ones that you know in your gut make sense, because as you say, you know, getting out of a difficult situation, do it, look after number one, and you know, in your case, number 2 daughter as well, or number 1 daughter as she is, you know, to get into a better place. And yeah, as you say, it's another part that's really defined who you are today, and the start of your Lake District adventure as a mountain leader. I mean, goodness me, what stories we've heard over the last few weeks, Hayley. You've really got a fascinating background. And
I'll say that Yeah, if I give you one more,
Yeah, please.
I could give you lots, really, but yeah, if I give you another, um, of course, I was then out mountaineering as much as I could, and I met my group of mates, that all like doing mountaineering from all over the place, and we would go every kind of February half term up to Aviemore, up to the Cairngorms, and there'd be sometimes 40 of us, and those with kids, we'd take it in turns watching the kids so that we could get out and mountaineer or ski, snowboard, hence the snowboarding picture behind my head. We actually had a lesson up there together. I was terrible. Turns out it's a vocation for Jordan. She's just passed actually her level 2 snowboard instructor out in the Alps. So I'm super proud mum. Yeah, she's 21 now. And so off we'd go. And I went out and done this big kind of 2-day expedition, if you like. An expedition, it's not really quite an expedition, but it feels like it in winter, to do kind of the 3rd, 4th and 5th highest mountains in the UK, and then the second, which is Ben Macdui, highest plateau of land in the country. So Ben Nevis is the highest mountain, but the plateau of land in the Cairngorms there isn't an area of land. It does register the highest winds in the country. It's a scary place to be in those conditions. And unfortunately, in the midst of winter, we'd stayed out overnight, which meant we weren't privy to a up-to-date weather forecast. We'd looked for the 2 days, and you can't get any signal. And as we kind of started to get up onto Ben Macdui, and we're in a complete whiteout here. So if you imagine looking, and a real true whiteout is when you look out to the horizon and there's no sky and there's no floor. And sometimes you can't actually see when you put your feet down in the snow because you can't make out where that floor is. And then people fall over. It's very disorientating. Your navigation needs to be really good, really good. And this weather front hit us, and it had actually, what was due to come in, had come in about 12 hours early, unbeknown to us, because we happened to be on Ben Macdui, second highest point in the country when this hit. We crawled off that mountain, and I'm not exaggerating when I say we crawled a trench through the snow to get off. The wind chill that night was about -35. My walking poles had actually grown in diameter from the ice that had built on them. And as we got into the dark, out of 5 rucksacks, we could only get into 2 because all the clips had frozen shut. And we ended up with just 2 head torches between 5 of us, because you couldn't really hang about. And the winds were blasting us that hard that we were being picked up and thrown. And for us, that point meant being thrown towards what's called the Larrick Grue, which is a big valley, big cliffs, essentially, big express route off, not the way you want to go. And it took us 13 hours to get off, and probably go only about 13 kilometers, if that, to get back down. And probably one of the most scared moments at that point. Well, at that point in my life, it was the most scared moment I'd had. And I genuinely, at that point, still being in the rescue team here, thought there's no way people are going to rescue us. You can't. There's just no way you can get out in these conditions. And we're crawling because you can't stand up. It's like being hit by a train. It's really hard to describe to people what high winds does. We managed to get off, and there was 2 of us that did the nav between us. And we got down, and my good friend Johnny, who really taught me winter, when I first went up, like 2008 or 9, 2008, I think I went up, and it was the first time I put crampons on, had an axe in my hand, and learned winter, and he taught me skills. When we got down, he happened to be part of the group that was down in the big lodge we were staying in, and he said, I was wondering where you were, and he said, were you scared? And I was like, yeah, I was absolutely beeping myself. And he said, that's why you're alive, because you let the fear drive the adrenaline, which drove you to do what you need to do to get off that mountain, despite it taking 13 hours and digging in. And it was actually after that, because I'd been toying with my mountain leader at this point. I still hadn't got together with Stu at this point. We knew each other, but we weren't, never thought we would be together. And it was really after that I thought, if I can navigate in that, I can navigate in anything, and therefore I'm good enough to do my mountain leader and take other people and other people's children and other people's family members, loved ones out in the mountains, because if I can deal with that, I can deal with anything, because you wouldn't go out in those conditions. The funicular train that goes up Cairngorm has a tunnel, and they have and I can never say the word, a wind measuring thing,
I don't know what it is either, so I'm not going to try.
Yeah, it's like saying an enemy, isn't it? And it was registering gusts of 101 miles an hour up there, goodness. And we were higher. We physically crawled off the mountain, and when people, you see them with the cameras, I'm on Scarfell Pike, 70 miles an hour. I'm like, you're not, because you can't stand up, you can't get up. And that was a real moment for me to go, wow, if I can deal with that, then I can do my mountain leader, and I can be a professional, and I can take people out and keep them safe, but never in those conditions. Check the weather, kids. Check the weather.
And now we have sat phones so that you can keep in touch and find out what the weather is coming in.
Yeah, I mean, you still wouldn't really take a sat phone out on a couple of days like that. And sometimes no, not really. You're just going. You're into the Cairngorms. Your more ideal is that you have the equipment with you, that you can sit it out. And we did have enough equipment that we could have dug in to the snow and sat it out. But whilst we were functioning enough to keep trying to move, that's the better option. You dig in as your last resort. You dig yourself a hole and get out of it if you physically can't go anymore. But it was definitely, it wasn't until I stopped and got in the car, our friend picked us up, that I started to shake and dither, and the cold hit me, and that because I stayed so switched on. That was the moment that I was like, right, I'm going to do this, and this is what I'm going to do for a job. Definitely. And I think the strength I had in that had definitely come from life. Life does that. And scary biscuits.
yeah, absolutely. And that will to survive. Survival instinct, isn't it? And it is instinct that kicks in.
It was not my day.
Exactly. And thank goodness it wasn't. Because that means, as you say, it was the moment that you realised you could do what you're now doing, which is truly incredible. And as you were telling that story, Hayley, I was thinking, why didn't they dig in? And then in my brain was going, no, because they get buried and never get out.
There's ways of digging in to not get buried. You'll be all right, and we had good enough kit. It wouldn't have been a very comfortable night, but we could have done it. But it would need to be really serious, which sounds crazy because that was pretty serious. But nobody was injured and nobody was unable to move due to the cold. So it was best to try. If you were massively disorientated and unable to navigate, then absolutely you would dig in, because then you're just going to get yourself into major trouble. But I did know how to nav, and it was actually that night that proved to me that I really knew how to map read, like way beyond my understanding of how good my map reading was. It was at that stage that I understood that I could really nav more better than I thought. Didn't give myself credit for.
Well, goodness me, if ever you needed some evidence of how amazing you are, then that story just proves it. It smashes it. Oh my goodness, what amazing 3 touch points of the pivotal moments that have created Hayley Webb and who you are today, and what an absolute privilege to have you share those with me and our audience here at the Game of Leadership podcast, Hayley. I could talk to you forever. This has been such fun. I've really enjoyed having you with us for this and the last 2 episodes, and thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I really hope you will come back again and share more of your fabulous leadership. I'm so happy you said I will.
I will.
and maybe we need to get Jordan on to share what it was like to be with Crazy Mum.
I'm sure she'd love that, actually.
I bet she would, and that I would love talking to you both, and to share to share an earlier story of her leadership, because hers is starting to emerge now.
Yeah,
As
definitely.
she's becoming a snowboarding instructor and carving out her own path.
She's in the Army Reserves and competed
Oh,
for
is
the Army
she?
this winter. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So definitely when she's home, we'll have to get together and do a couple of episodes with
Yeah, I'm sure she'd love that. Yeah,
and yourself
definitely.
as well. That would be incredible, and I'm sure that everybody will have just found the stories you've shared fascinating. You know, this is all about rising up together, Hayley, as leaders, and you know, whatever shape or form that takes for us, and learning from each other's experiences, and if nothing else, knowing that we're in this together. It is a messy game. You know, life is not simple. And, you know, all of these different things make us absolutely who we are today. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're very
And
welcome.
we will see you next week on Game of Leadership. And thank you to Hayley. Have a great rest of day.
Thank you. I will. And you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Game of Leadership, the podcast for curious leaders. This has been the third episode and final episode for a little while anyway, with our guest, who shared their pivotal moments that make them the leader they are today. Again, I talk about uniqueness a lot. Every guest story and their pivotal moments, the challenges they faced, the issues they faced over the years to get to where they are now, and how they pulled themselves through all of that, makes them the leader they are today, and each one of those stories is unique and different. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with them and see what that meant for them. Now, once again, it's your turn to reflect on what you've heard today, see what resonates for you, and think about what that might mean for your leadership moving forwards. I'm Paula Eddie Wilcox, and I look forward to welcoming you back next time on Game of Leadership, the podcast for curious leaders. Bye for now.